Oh. I'm going to give you the red-white aggro deck
All right,
instead.
sweet.
I'm sorry.
Also easier because he's sitting on the left, I'm sitting on the left. The organization's just so much better this
Yeah,
way.
that's true. Now, the green splash here, of course, is for Abrupt Decay. And then there's some cards in the sideboard. But one card that's actually in the main deck is Liliana's Reaver. We'll see if that does get cast here as we're underway. Ellis with just a Swamp Pass of the turn. Kerr, Mountain, bang. Fire Drink Crusader. This is your kind of magic, my friend.
Big fan of that. Well, I'm not a big fan of the second color, but we're more or less okay.
Here's Temple of Triumph from Kerr. You're going to take a look at the top card. And that one looks like it's going to move to the bottom of the deck. Fire Drink Crusader into the red zone. 2 points of damage Ellis's way. Now, Ellis doesn't have a card like Freakus Cure in his main deck. We've seen other versions of this deck have. And now here's a Nightveil Spectre right in the way. The old roadblock.
Well, these are the kind of draws that are not too hard to beat. It's the removal into Desecration Demon that's very challenging.
Okay. Temple of Triumph going to show up to the party yet again.
I have not lost a Nightveil Spectre a lot, I'll tell you that much.
You're a tough guy. You can beat a 2-3, huh?
Usually, yeah.
Let's see what the follow-up play is going to be. It's going to be a Lightning Strike. Get that out of the way. Let's crash on in for 2. Put Ellis down to 16. So Fire Drink Crusaders doing some work here. I like that card.
Good. It's good, honest magic.
Yeah. Now here's a Liliana's Reaver. Now, this one is worth a look because I did not expect to see this in the deck list. And this is the 4-3 that has Death Touch. We're going to bring it up for you guys at home because, again, I haven't seen this for a long time. It deals combat damage to a player. That player discards a card and you put a 2-2 into play. Now, it's going to get chained to the rock, so nothing cool is going to happen. But that's a big body. It's a big threat.
Yep.
And chain to the rock, I'm going to put it over there just for simplicity's sake. Let's see what the is there a Chandra's Phoenix, too? Okay.
Oh.
It's getting hot in here.
It's cooking with gas.
Absolutely. So Ellis is going to go down to 12, and he's got no. It's like, if you were to play a Gray Merchant, who really cares?
Well,
right
it's
now?
still, he needs the breathing space to be able to play other cards. And furthermore, Grey Merchant's 2/4 body is actually kind of impactful as well. But
See a Lifebane Zombie going to get cast here. A noticeable card that is missing here from Shawn Ellis's deck. There are no copies of Pack Rat.
wow.
His creature base is Nightveil Spectre, Lifebane Zombie, Desecration Demon, Liliana's Reaver, and Gray Merchant. Doesn't need Pack Rat. Maybe he's making a statement.
And James is just drawing a shock this turn, which is actually insane as he gets to deploy
Jeez.
Young Pyromancer, make a token, play his other Fire Drink Crusader, and still leave Chain of the Rock as the last card in his hand.
Give me a Chris Van Meter token. Let's get in that red zone. Yeah, CVM. Welcome to the party. Yeah, that draw was awesome. That's
Just
an attack
perfect.
Here. Yeah. And again, with the mono black decks, the follow-up is, it uses all the mana and has Chain of the Rocks in reserve. Insane draw here from Kerr. But with the mono black decks, they don't have access to a Wrath effect. I guess they do after sideboard because of Golgari Charm, but that's really it. Is Gray Merchant's going to come in, a little gain, a little drain, but it's a small one.
And Shawn is dead on board now if we use Chain of the Rock and pump a Fire Drink Crusader.
There's a Temple. There's a Scry. I know you see the red math right away. I think Shawn's going to find it too. Chain to the Rock. Give me that Gray Merchant. Attack you for 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 pump is going to get the job done.
Perfect. Just perfect. All mana used, no cards left in hand, exact 0.
That's how it's supposed to go every time.
Painting the Mona Lisa over there. James Kerr quickly up a game.
Alrighty, Shawn Ellis, you don't have Pack Rats, but to be fair, Pack Rat's not very good in this matchup, and he's immediately sideboarding. He is immediately taking things out, so let's see what he has to bring in. He's got Underworld Connections. That's not coming in. Duress, maybe. We'll come back to that. 2 copies of Erebos? No way. 2 copies of Python Needle? No way. 3 Golgari Charm? Likely. I like that in this particular matchup. 3 copies of Freakus Cure? Absolutely. 3 Gaze of Granite. Now, how do you feel about that? That card is expensive, and we didn't even see any green mana last game.
Well, it is a little bit on the slow side, and he has cheaper and more efficient removal. I think having 1 Gaze maybe is okay. I would not want to bring in all 3.
How do you feel about Duress as a singleton?
Positively.
Okay, the spells are. I want to say this is probably wrong. The spells are the lower impact cards from the deck. But, I mean, they're obviously important because Chain of the Rocks is great against this deck. But, 1 Duress, there will be times, I think, where you draw it at the wrong time. It won't be very good.
Well, Duress into Desecration Demon against the build that has Chain of the Rock is really good, I think.
Okay.
Against just straight mono red, I think Duress is pretty bad.
Okay.
But this deck, he has Young Pyromancer. He's displayed that he has probably quite a few spells in his deck.
Sure.
And Desecration Demon, again, is one of your best tools against them. Can really only be answered by Chain of the Rock. So I think 1 Duress is probably worth bringing in.
How about on your side, Red Mage?
2 Mortars, a Storm Breath Dragon, 3 Skullcracks, 2 more Chain of the Rocks, 4 Boros Reckoner, 2 Fanatic Amogus, and a single Rod of Ruin.
Ting.
That killed me at Grand Prix Albuquerque.
Really?
It dealt the last
Oh,
point.
you told me about that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a humbling defeat.
It was allegedly for Master of Waves, but it was in reality for my dome piece. That's how that one played out. I like Skullcrack in this matchup a fair bit. It's really hard to deal all the damage through creatures because there's so much removal.
Of course.
And, of course, Farika's Cure, Grey Merchant, these are things that you have to play around. You still need to be pretty threat dense, but I like having Skullcrack more than, say, something like Flames of the Firebrand or Magma Jet, for example, which are cards that James has multiple copies of in his deck. I think you want the additional copies of Chain of the Rocks. Desecration Demon's the biggest threat that's going on here. You want more answers to that. And besides that, I wouldn't sideboard too much. The 1-drops and the 2-drops are really good against mono black, or in this case, black-green. You need to get onto the board fast. Then you just want to cover against their most powerful things getting into the mid and late game, which are Desecration Demon and Life Gain.
Now, one thing about the black-green version of this Devotion deck, now obviously it's base black, splashing green for a couple of cards, but if you look at the mana bases, and this is a really big deal, especially when you're playing a hyper-aggressive deck like this, there are 4, 8, 9, 10 lands that come into play tapped here for Ellis. That's a really big deal. When you take a look at Turtenwald's deck list, he's got 19 swamps, a couple of scry lands, and 4 mutables. He's only got a few lands that come into play tapped, so we could see a little stumble and fumble here on Ellis' side.
Yeah, Owen's list is really lean and brutally efficient. Shawn's, he's adding some power to this deck, and I think he has some real sideboard cards, especially Golgari Charm is really good against builds that are trying to use Young Pyromancer, but he's paying a huge cost with his land drops.
Well, again, if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Star City Games Open Series here in Orlando, Florida. We're out of the cold, we're into the muggy.
Yes.
A little sticky outside.
Yeah, I went outside. It was raining a little bit during my break as I foolishly tried to search for food.
Yeah.
Not happening because we're basically on an island. But the convention center is sweet, but
This convention center is
enormous.
One, very nice, and B, enormous.
It is huge.
I've been to, we work in convention centers for a living. Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
This is the biggest convention center I have ever been in, ever. It's not even remotely close.
I'm trying to think. I feel like the one where PAX East is held, the Boston Expo Center or whatever that place is called, that place struck me as just being out of control how big it is.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely near the top of the list, if not the top of the
Yeah,
list.
this is the Orange County Convention Center, which the name of it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because I think of Orange County, I think of California where you are. But
well,
this was
probably a county before Orange County, California was a
Look,
county.
there's a decent chance of that. I'm just saying, Orange
First
County,
to market,
California. Yeah, they did a better job marketing it than Orange County, California, 'cause that's what I think of. Also, that's a movie, and it's not a good one with Colin Hanks. Either way, this convention center is huge.
It is huge.
I like it, though. It's nice. PAX East. Never
Yeah.
been. It's a good time. PAX West is sweet, but the one in Seattle.
Yeah, PAX Prime.
Yeah, PAX West, that one's sweet.
They're both very loud shows.
You're old.
Well, it's a video game show primarily, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of lights and sounds. I don't know. It messes with me. They're fun,
You are old. That's the first. That is the adjective you want to describe the show. They're very loud shows. They're not awesome shows. They're not fun shows. You know what the show is? Loud.
Well, it is fun, but Gen Con is also, it's a loud show. There's a lot of people in the building, but I wouldn't describe it. That would not be my first adjective I would use to describe Gen Con. The defining feature of PAX is the volume level.
I'll have to go sometime. And
Okay,
find out.
yeah. It's an experience, man. It's fun, but.
Take a look at Ellis. He looks happy enough. He's going to start off with the Temple of Mystery. 2 of those in his deck, so he can play his Green Splash while also casting Nightfell Spectre on time. It's good deck building.
That is
He
good.
did take a mulligan to 6, and he has and see, this is kind of the issue because he has a Golgari Guildgate in his hand. He has an Overgrown Tomb, which obviously he can play untapped if he wants to, but he's going to be under the gun right away. Kerr's going to play that land untapped. No idea what he's going to start with, but it's going to be fast and furious. It's going to be a Rakdos Cackler that's unleashed past the turn back.
And even though, all the 1-drops feel replaceable, the more that James can lead with creatures that aren't swept away by Golgari Charm,
Super
the better.
important.
It's really important. It's going to be impossible to do altogether, of course, just the nature of his deck isn't going to allow him to do that. The more that he can side out one time his creatures, and the more that he can curve out with things like Ash's Outlet and with Rakdos Cackler, the better off he's going to be.
Yeah. Cackler in for 2. Going to put Ellis down to 18. Let's see if there's a follow-up play coming. It is a Fire Drink Crusader. Pass the turn back. So that one's going to die to the -1/-1 effect, assuming that Ellis has one. Ellis is going to play a Night Veil Spectre. So let's see if Kerr has a removal spell. Last time he had the Spear.
And he was rewarded with that deck building that you described earlier, too.
Yeah. Can't put the brakes on now. You got to flatten that Spectre.
You can still attack with the Fire Drink Crusader.
Yeah, I guess pay the price. Pump it to get it out of the way. All right. Damage is done. 2 comes across. Ellis moves down to 16. Let's see what the follow-up's going to be. This is a Young Pyromancer, and that's passing the turn back. Ash's Outlet kind of in the holster. You also see a couple of copies of Chandra Pyromaster in the hand, too. There's an Overgrown Tomb that comes into play tapped for Ellis. It passes the turn back.
So this is a pretty good spot for James, as he can either pre-combat Chandra to make the Night Veil Spectre unable to block, or do it after combat, after Shawn presumably blocks, whichever one's better. He's going to take a more aggressive route here and make the Night Veil Spectre unable to block.
Which route do you like more?
I probably would have attacked and allowed him to block to hedge against Golgari Charm.
Okay. Damage is dealt. 4 is going to come across. You can say 5 because of the 1 damage from the Chandra. Abrupt Decay takes care of the Young Pyromancer, probably the scariest threat of the ones that are out there. But you can make an argument that you're supposed to kill the Cackler, so if you do draw Golgari Charm for the -1/-1,
right,
you can sweep up the rest of the board.
That's what I meant by hedging. I think the most likely thing he does is block the Young Pyromancer there, and you get to trade a 1-time this creature for a Night Veil Spectre, which I really like in that spot.
Night Veil Spectre looking to go on the offensive. Maybe.
It's close, though. I mean, he gets to push through a lot of damage this way.
Yeah.
And if Shawn's hand is more creature-oriented and less removal-oriented, this path is arguably better. So
let's see which way Spectre's going. It's going to go over this way, straight to the dome.
Looking for something.
Skull. Hey, that means you're not being skull cracked, so that's not so bad. Let's see what the follow play is going to be. This is a Gaze of Granite X = 1. Bye-bye Cackler, bye-bye Fire Drinker. That's a really good turn.
Yes.
And even though Gaze is expensive, it can have that kind of impact on a game.
Right.
Imagine if something was chained to the rocks as well. You would get that back too, so.
Oofa.
Yeah.
But Shawn has to be, we've seen Chandra on camera a lot the last couple weeks with the Red-Green Monsters deck. Chandra is basically in that deck, you're just zeroing it. Sometimes there's spots where you make things unable to block. Chandra going ultimate is a big threat. Shawn has to actually fight that from happening.
Yeah, for sure. See, Ash's Zealot and Fire Drinker are going to come into play here, so going to rebuild the board. Ash's Zealot going to put Ellis down to 9, tick on up, going to put you down to 8. And now the ultimate on Chandra 6?
Flip over 10, take a spell out of it.
Okay, it's -7.
It's
okay,
-7 to ultimate, yes.
Okay.
But it's like a top 10. You kill them.
I haven't seen it happen yet.
What happens is you kill them.
Oh, they die? Okay. Depends on which side you're on, if that's a good or bad thing.
Right. Well, actually, his build's a little spell light. He doesn't have War Leaders here, so it's not a guaranteed kill, but it's still not a bad thing to be doing.
Let's see what the Baltimore Ravens fan can find. There's a Gray Merchant. That's going to be for 5. That's a big turn.
Yes.
It's a big swing there. He can potentially keep getting a Night Veil Spectre. Maybe Night Veil Spectre wants to pump the brakes, but you can make the argument it's just like you just want to keep attacking, keep attacking, keep attacking.
If nothing else, he needs to pin down Chandra from going ultimate.
Yeah.
Although he may be happy to race, maybe he has another Grey Merchant, but
it's going to go to the Dome trigger. There's a Sacred Foundry.
That turns on the Skull Crack now too, so now it's even more important for him to kill that Night Veil Spectre.
That's the land for the turn. So you see the updated life total here of I believe 13 to 11.
I think they're trying to figure out if a land was played that turn.
Nope. The last turn it was a land came into play tapped, cast Gaze.
Right.
So Chain of the Rocks. Another Chandra and a Mountain as they hand here for Kerr. So decisions. Do I up my Chandra? Do I zero it and try to find something nice? I can threaten the ultimate, which isn't so bad. All right, so you can't block.
I mean, Shawn's playing in a way where he's definitely representing having another Gray Merchant, so.
There's a Chain of the Rocks, so that's got to go. And now the question is, did you kind of play defensively in the fact that you try to protect your Chandra, but you're playing against a deck that you know has removal and it has Hero's Downfall, so protecting it isn't realistic to me. You can attack here.
Yeah, it's hard. If I was in James's seat right now, I would be suspicious of a second Gray Merchant.
Yeah.
The way the game's been played. We know that's not there right now, but.
Looks like Mutavault's going to try to play the defense on the Gray Merchant.
He wants to protect Chandra and try to win the game by going ultimate.
You know what? We want to see it happen. He says, you have one card in your hand? All right, attack this. Mutavault, you're on blocking duty, I think, or at least you're going to try.
Yeah,
and you're going to fail. Freakus Cure is ugh. Not that it just failed in a big way. Yikes. You see the last card there at Ellis is a Gaze of Granite. And that thing is online. This is going to be for 2. So it's going to kill the creatures. It's going to kill the chain. It's going to get everything back. And now it's Chandra versus. We'll see just how good this red Pyromaster is. Lightning Strike to the draw.
Not bad if he can keep. If he's able to keep. All right, he's going to 0.
All right. There's an Ash Zealot. Now, do you strike and kill this? Do you strike and kill the Spectre and keep pushing through damage, or do you kind of slow up a little bit?
I think he has to race here.
Okay.
Because the Gray Merchant's sort of, preoccupied with keeping Chandra contained.
Okay.
So you're naturally ahead in the race a little bit.
Don't forget, Ellis has no cards in hand. He's playing right off the top of the deck. Looks like he may have drawn a spell here. He drew a Devour Flesh. That's an interesting draw. Interesting. It can go. It can take care of the Ash Zealot. He can use it on himself to gain life. That goes a lot of different ways. He's going to take care of the Ash Zealot right now. But Kerr's going to gain a little bit of life as the race does continue here. So Kerr is going to untap. He'll take a draw step. Let's see what he finds. Realistically, he gets 2 draw steps because of that Chandra.
I did not see what he picked up that draw step.
Yeah, he's been holding one Chandra for a very long time. Next card is a mystery.
Is that a Pyrewild Shaman? He does have one in his deck.
There's a Mountain. I think that is a wow, what? Okay, you can identify that better than I could ever hope to.
Welcome back, buddy. We haven't seen you since spoiler season. We wondered if you were going to hang out.
And don't worry, it's coming. It's the 3-mana 3/1 with Blood Rush, and whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, if it's in your graveyard, you can pay 3. If you do, return this to your hand. So Pyrewild, basically a 3-mana 3/1. Oh, but Devour Flesh is going to take it down.
But an Ash Zealot right here.
It could be coming back for more.
Get it right back.
Yeah, that's a Goblin too? Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Sign me up.
A lot of ins, a lot of outs.
So let's see what the play is going to be this turn for Kerr. What's the best draw right now for him? Is it like a Chandra Phoenix type card?
Chandra's Phoenix is the best draw. I just drew it also.
Young Peasy, follow up with the Chandra's Phoenix.
Really good draw.
Red Zone. Going to knock Ellis down to 6.
And keep in mind that James's last card in hand is another Chandra. He actually has backup here.
So the fact that Ellis is going after Kerr's Chandra doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah, James is totally happy to play that game.
All right. Yeah, immediately.
We've gone this far, so.
You can kill that. And Ellis has slowed down a little bit. Maybe he drew a land for the turn. As Kerr's going to untap, he'll take a draw. And that's a Temple. I want to take a look, see what the top card is. He's happy with it. Looks at his graveyard, realizing he can return that Pyrewild Shaman if he'd like to, or he can deploy the Chandra. He's going to start by attacking. That's going to happen.
Little trigger on the stack.
Things I didn't think I'd see today.
We've seen all sorts of nonsense today. Sweet.
Pyrewild Shaman being hard cast and being returned.
Every part of the buffalo.
can't let anything go to waste,
No.
man. Here's a Nightveil Spectre. Normally that would make things difficult, but Blood Rush, the Pyrewild Shaman.
Do we have enough mana to Blood Rush the Pyrewild Shaman and use Chandra and Zero to take out a blocker? Yes, we do. Or we can just do this.
Yeah, we can just do this too. Red zone in the air, and that is going to do it. James Kerr with red-white aggro is going to defeat Shawn Ellis in 2 games. Red-white aggro, you like beatdowns?
That was a nice beatdown.
We're coming to the top 8 for more beatdowns. Congratulations to James.
Survived multiple Gaze of Granites that game, too.
2 of them.
Two of them. One of them killed a Chain of the Rocks.
One of the greatest games was just great. You see James going to get a hug from one of his friends into the top 8 with a good chance of being the #1 seed. And you know what deck is really good if he gets to play first throughout the entire top 8?
Mono Red and Red X.
Yeah, that's a good place to be. So congratulations again to James Kerr. Red-white aggro to the top 8. If you like mountains as much as Patrick does, excuse me, you're a happy camper.
Yeah, that was, not an archetype we've seen a lot of recently. And another interesting thing, James in his 75 entirely eschewing Boros Charm. Usually when you see these white splashes in mono red aggro decks, that's the first card you think of. But his deck's using Young Pyromancer, and he's playing a little more of a board control game with Shocks and Lightning Strikes and Magma Jets to try to fix his draws and get more incremental value. Pyrewild Shaman's another piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
It's just sort of a grindy value card. So